and become wind. Empty and become wind.
How are you able to control that spirit when no one else could?
As your father could tell you, I have spent my life studying the spirits and learning their ways. All of this knowledge is lost in the South, but I could teach you everything I know.
Revealing the unseen mysteries when everything ain't what it seems. It'll blow your mind outside you seek. You find the realms of possibilities. Connect with the infinite intellect to receive of the positive energy. Reciting the sacred mantras to lift you to higher frequencies. Archives and constellations, star signs. When the planets align, new paradigms and paralyzed. From the visit of the succubus at nighttime. Hypnotized sometimes when the watchers flying to the sunrise. It'll set you free from the unbelief. It'll break your mind from the confines. Spirits leaving, changing seasons. Principalities undefeated over a certain region. Shamanic novice with knowledge, commune with higher beings with a deeper meaning. The reason Solomonic magic in Jesus was accused of channeling demons. I'm thrown off sort of this portal to the paranormal. Hearing these voices speaking to me when spirit touches a mortal. With a knife in my back and I bleed through the scars. As I am, you see through my flaws. Staring at the stars and the rhythm wars. Never open at the doors of the Ouija board.
Traveling the path where the past is destroyed. Arrive at 0 point, enter the void. This is fractal math, holographically enjoy. Darkness we can't avoid, enter the void. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Here, enter the void.
Enter the ritual, step in the temple, connect with the spiritual realm. Metaphysical to the etherical pathways beyond the physical world. You could ascend to the kingdom of heaven or sit and stay living in hell. Mystical, wisdom and dark, a lyrical shaman lifting a spell. Witness the miracle, traveling beyond the body, see this is a shell. And you in the third dimensional prism that got us imprisoned in cells. Sit between 4 and 20 elders, the split into 12s. Shh, you can hear them whispering if you listen it well. Came to awaken the ancient of days, man I stay ringing the bell. Mythical note from the place where the wicked fell back to the kingdom of hell. Blessed with the wisdom performing the exorcism, the sins get expelled. See we are the demons and angels, balance the energies within yourself. I'm trying to find a path between the light and the dark. I'm writing to spark a link between the mind and the heart. We gotta unite both sides before they divide us apart. Said we gotta unite both sides before they divide us apart.
Traveling the path where the past is destroyed. Arrive at 0 point, enter the void. This is fractal math, holographically enjoy. Darkness we can't avoid, enter the void. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Into the void.
Now I'm good with nothing. Why y'all good for nothing? My 100,000 pedal loaders, dopamine over flooded. Stargate runnings, dragons out the dungeon. My Hakali been summoned. Total destruction into a vacuum suction. Conjunction, junction, that's my function. Through a star cluster in a maritime custom. Stellar dust encrusted, I ain't touching your disgusting judgments. We rise above it, enjoying the void. Source of pure joy, no more discussion.
So once you get to the South Pole, then what happens?
You will open an ancient spirit portal.
I'm sorry, what now?
At the South Pole, there is a portal that connects our world to the spirit world. But it has long been closed.
And that's why the evil spirits are attacking?
There are no evil spirits. There's light and dark in them all. But when they're unbalanced, the darkness takes over. If you can open the portal in time, balance will be restored.
What do you mean, in time?
There's a reason the Glacier Spirits Festival ends on the winter solstice. And that's when the spirit world and the physical world are close together. Only then can the Avatar open the portal.
The winter solstice is tomorrow.
Exactly. And we can't afford to wait another year.
Traveling the path where the past is destroyed. Arrive at 0 point, enter the void. This is fractal math, holographically enjoy. Darkness we can't avoid, enter the void. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Into the void.
I found true freedom. I am no longer bound to this earth by worldly desires. I have entered the void.
Morning. Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode on conscious relationships. But we're talking about something very special today with our teacher, friend, just amazing person all around, Pierre DuBois.
Thank you.
So we are over here, and there's been a lot of things that's been happening with me over here that I'd love to also integrate with you. But how has your week been?
The week has been good. Lots of breakthroughs, lots of insights. This quarantine has provided me with all of these opportunities to go really deep into my own fears and to find the weakness in my spiritual psychology that has allowed them to take root and to try to correct and find more peace and more serenity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny, you're speaking exactly right to the point that is already going on in my mind, and that is that I found that there was a fear for myself of missing something. And then I heard a quote from someone, I don't remember, it may have even been from one of our conversations, where it said, you can't miss spirit. And that fear kept me from being present. It was like, oh, I need to make sure that I take in as much information and do as much as I can here, there, and everywhere, when all of the answers, all of the information was actually here.
Yeah. It's interesting because the true path of ascendance is not about modality and technique. It is actually remembering something that exists within you. And the outside is nothing more than a mirror to reflect whatever imbalance that may exist for you at the moment. Now, the interesting thing about the extraction, or rather the reconciliation of the outside with the internal state, a lot of time, for example, an outside event, let's say, for example, right now, the US, all of these weird weather pattern in the South. So you have all of these catastrophic events that are taking place, and people are very scared and all that, and it's triggering survival. And people are trying to find shelter, they're trying to do this, and so on and so forth. But the degree sometimes to which we react to things is not equal to the threat at hand. And this is what you need to resolve in you. Yes, we all need to survive, but it's the degree of the reaction that becomes important. And so when I'm seeking and I'm trying to find I realize that there is an exaggerated response. I need to find out what that exaggerated response is triggering in me, and where is the root cause of that particular trigger, and what is psychologically imbalanced in me that I need to recalibrate so that I will respond appropriately without going insane. It was Lord Buddha that said, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. So it's the balance. It's trying to find the balance. And I'm finding in the light community, like you were saying, trying to run after this and after that and doing this and that or the other. I remember saying to one student one time, very recently, was studying with me through the Ascendance course, the Ascension Yoga of Neutrality I'm teaching right now, and I will be teaching on April 7th. He asked me, well, I need to do soul retrieval and I need to do this, that, or the other. And I started very quiet. What do you think? I said to him, I'm sure that the other practitioners that you're going to go to do all of this are highly qualified and they can do a great job. But let me give you a simple analogy. I live in Manhattan and there are multiple bridges that lead to Manhattan, but you cannot take all of them at the same time. You have to decide which path you're following. And then you have to go along the path and see where it leads you. Wait till you get to the end before you start running around and trying to find, and that kind of distraction is really connected to
this complex or this kind of thing of not finishing anything, starting a lot of things but not finishing anything. And we need to understand where that is coming from. Is it again, as you said, a fear of missing out, or is it something else? Is it coming from something else? What are you trying? What are you really seeking? And one other thing that I found that's really fascinating for me, it's the fact that a lot of time it's because we don't understand what the end goal is. A lot of people talk about ascension. It's very popular and very sexy, but no one really understands what it really is and what it looks like. And that's the problem. People are equating, modality and tools with the actual goal. And they are not the same. It's like trying to say that the taxi that I'm going to take or the bike that I'm riding is the end goal, but it's not the end goal. The goal is the actual destination and the view and the betterment in higher consciousness that I'm going to get when I get there. So that's, to my mind, that's the thing that I see as missing. Because if you're talking about ascendance, you need to understand what it means. And I see a lot. I remember one time one of my light worker friend here in New York asked me to review somebody else's work and said, Pierre, what do you think? This guy's offering this, that, and the other. I'm trying to join the class with him and all that. And I looked at it, and when I got back to her, I said, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm always am. It's a brilliant marketing plan because, but the system is so complicated that it was actually man-made. The universe is elegant and simple. When something is that complicated, you have to do this first for the other, and then sub A, sub B, sub C, and then that, and then every time, at every step, you have to give another few $1,000s. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I'm saying to myself, okay, this is extraordinary. This guy is brilliant. But to say that it's ascendance, and it's all the right buzzwords. When I looked at the program, I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. But it's not going to deliver because you realize the system is too convoluted to be of God. This is somebody that a human being created. Because what ascendance must feel like, if you're following any teachers or any path of ascendance, what it should feel like to you when you're doing the actual mechanic and yoga, it should feel like you're remembering something. It should feel like breathing. And if it doesn't feel like that, it's not the right path for you. And I should also qualify this by saying there are multiple paths for ascension. There's the path of the Bodhisattva. There's the path of service. There's the path of the sonship. There's the path of neutrality, which is what I teach. There are multiple paths. Again, multiple bridges leading to the same place. The path of the warrior. There are multiple paths. So it should feel like you're remembering. And if you're not alive, and this is the reason why before any students sign up for the class I'm leading, I want to have a half-hour conversation with them. I want to be very clear about the expectation that they have compared to what I'm offering. And if it doesn't jive, then we're not a match. It's better for you not to waste your time and go to another teacher, follow a different path. And you might think that the neutrality is for me, but you're on the path of service or the path of the Bodhisattva or some other path. And if your soul is not aligned to it and you try to do it, it's going to feel for you that uncomfortable. It's going to feel like it's that sensation, that weirdness when somebody is writing on the blackboard and there's that screechy sound in your ear. It's going to feel weird. And again, if it's aligned, it should feel like remembering. I hope this answered your question. It's a little bit of a tangent, but.
Thank you for answering so thoroughly. And I have a question for you and Del. And that is that I'm wondering if, because this phrase has been used already once this morning, and that's inner peace, if someone has not experienced inner peace, can they still achieve it? They've never experienced inner peace. Is it still possible for them?
Del, you want to give a shot, or should I go in?
You go in, because my answer is simple. Yes. Feel free.
One of the caveat that I have with the teachings and the ascendance, the yoga I'm teaching, and I'm offering this for free. It's a package that I offer of a training that I give to anyone who's signing up prior to them coming to class. It's 9 video module on emotional intelligence. This is kind of a prerequisite, because one of the things that and this connects back to the peace as a higher emotion. One of the things that I noticed that people, the planet in general, doesn't have, and by the way, this is, I didn't fall from the sky knowing this. It's after years of teaching and failing miserably, that I finally realized this is what's necessary first, okay? Which is that people have a way of looking at feelings and emotion as having good feelings and bad feelings. All emotions are equal. There is no such thing as good or bad. And emotional intelligence is the management of all feelings. And what happens often is that because we're in survival, and when you're in survival, you experience fight, flight, you attack, you become victimized, you defend, you protect, you hoard, and if you're lucky, you may love conditionally. And that's it. The other emotions, you don't experience them because you're busy trying to survive in everything. So to get to a point where you can experience, and you may have dictionary definition of what peace is, like Webster dictionary, kind of intellectual, mental kind of thing, or gratitude, or mercy, or harmony and all that. You may understand what they are, but you may not have an actual visceral connection and knowing as to what that feeling is and that emotion is. And it can be cultivated. And the way I teach the cultivation, because it starts first with the emotional intelligence, then it transfers into social intelligence, and it eventually moves into spiritual intelligence. And that is when you begin to speak to the higher aspects, the fragmented aspect of ourselves, because way down from source, from 5D into 4D, we break apart into 12. If you take a piece of glass that you shatter with a hammer, because in order for you to descend dimensional scale, it's a fracturing experience. You have to release your power and your ability and your expansion to get smaller. And one of the charred gets descend the dimensional scale, the others all scattered. But what's scattered is not just a charred, it's also the true visceral and vibrational understanding of higher emotions. And then from 4D into 5D, the chart that you belong to gets shattered again into another 12. So now you're just one chart out of a collective of 144. So ascendance is actually the process of reverse engineering, of reassembling all these pieces so that you can become whole again. And each one of them hold one of the higher emotion, including the emotion of peace. And the way you learn it back is for you to sit and ask that part of you that may exist in dimensional time space somewhere. There is a process through which, through the yoga, you can call them back and ask them to share back with you the peace that they know. And when that happens, if you ask it enough time, there is a visceral imprint that goes inside of you that makes you understand what that peace is. And when it happens, it's vibrationally all-encompassing, and it lasts several days.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that occurred, then you now know what that energy signature is. And I guarantee you, whatever it feels like, there is no dictionary definition, but there is a part of you that understands it viscerally, and it feels like you're remembering something you've forgotten long ago. This is why I keep saying ascendance is remembering. I hope that was not, too deep. I don't want to lose anybody.
Oh no, it's not deep enough. It was whoa, man.
Yeah, and
if there was like a word for like going into like the shallow end of the pool, but like the shallow end of the pool is like the deep end of like a normal pool. That's the way of explaining it, what we just went through.
Yeah. And honestly, it does. And when you engage in that process of connecting to the pieces of yourself and trying to reassemble yourself, it's a reverse engineer of the descent. So as you're doing this, these pieces are going to come in. Their power, their wisdom, and their more importantly, the actual visceral, emotional understanding of what that emotion is will show up for you as you continue the practice. It's a daily thing that you have to do with all yoga, and as you do this, it will reconnect, and you will feel more and more whole and more complete. And many of you have heard this before. Ascendance is actually the blending of the threefold flame. It's power, wisdom, and love. Because all of the higher emotion, including peace, are all subset of divine love. And all we're trying to do is to remember what we left behind. And truly, this is really beautiful, because if you keep remembering all of this, and suddenly you can, and to be honest, although I've been given the path by remembering myself, this very specific path, and it started for me innocently in 2008. And the way it started was very strange. I had been a warrior for light my whole life up to that point. And then somebody attacked me in 2008, and I did the unthinkable. I chose neutrality. I didn't retaliate. And the moment I did this collective out of nowhere that I never heard of came to me and began to teach me the remembrance of neutrality. So the person and the individual that attacked me did me a great favor. And today I'm still praying for them and blessing them. Because without them and that attack, I would have never gotten where I am. And then so because of this, I was able to expand and grow. And funny, when they first showed up to me, they said, we're going to teach you the path of neutrality and all that. And I said, okay, I'm neutral. And I thought that was it. Little did I know what the kind of adjustment in consciousness that it was going to require, because you don't realize how polarized you are until you begin to say, I am going to engage in neutrality. You don't realize how everything becomes black and white for you. Everything's either the extremes, the pendulum swing that keeps going from one end or to the other. And to choose the path. And let me put a caveat here. Neutrality is not a disconnect to the injustices of the world. It is a way to manage your emotional stand without you foaming at the mouth if the desired outcome does not manifest. So when you're neutral, you do get socially engaged. You do get morally and ethically engaged into all kinds of things. But if for whatever reason the end result doesn't show up, you don't lose it. You easily let go, and you start replanning. instead of you being emotionally completely out of balance and being so, become a zealot and become so charged. That's a mark of someone who is not in the path of ascendant, that's derailing. So my teacher used to say to me, Pierre, when you're on this path, you have preferences, but you don't have attachments. So that's the thing.
Gotta write down the time for that one. We're gonna put that as a recording.
Yeah. You have to have preferences, but no attachment to outcome. And if it doesn't happen, it's okay. You move on to the next piece. You reorganize, you replan. Because the one thing in the universe that doesn't change is the law of change. Thus, things are constantly, one of the things that my guys are saying all the time, Pierre, you have to have emotional, psychological, and spiritual agility. You have to be able to move swiftly through things, particularly in the time that we're in now, where it appears that the whole world is transitioning and moving, and we're moving through quicksand. You have to be able to shift your center of gravity from here to there very quickly. And if you don't have the emotional intelligence that I was talking about, if you're not capable of managing your emotion correctly, and you're out of neutrality and you're charged, you're going to put your footing and believe in something that's going to sink you. Okay? And again, it requires an adjustment in consciousness and attitude. The class that I'm teaching on April 7th, and it's funny how it happened. If you don't mind, I'm going to tell you the story. So when the pandemic began, I had foreseen this since 2014. I've been channeling this pathogen that was going to cause massive human die-off. I have all the receipts, all the channeling were published. I knew it was coming. So when I saw this thing out of China, I knew this is it. And it took me in a downward spiral because I have property upstate that I had bought 2006, and I was going to turn into a village, again, because of this, into an ascended village called Gaiaville. I created the non-for-profit and everything else so that I can have a community. And when this happens, I can have a safe haven for my spiritual family. Well, Gaiaville, the only thing is that the main house is renovated. I don't have a village. I don't have the funds. And I when it happened, I thought I failed. So I went into source. I prayed. I said to God, okay, so I'm a failure. I didn't do what you asked me to do. I don't have the funds. The village is not prepared. So I'm going to surrender this mission of trying to teach and create this ascended village to demonstrate to the world that there is a different blueprint that can be created. I'm going to give up on all of this, and I'm going to surrender it to you. And I'm going to go on the beach somewhere and drink umbrella frozen drinks. Okay? And I'm done. I'm out. I'm releasing all of this, right? And so what I heard shocked me, because Spirit said to me, Pierre, Gaiaville is not a location. It's a frequency and a vibration. Teach everything that you know to whomever shows up. And the moment you have at least 36 people that stand shoulder to shoulder with you, you will collectively demonstrate to the world what true ascendance is like. That's your mission now. And it was so clear. I was so shocked when I heard that, because I'm an architect. So the location and the physicality of it, this is what I was worrying about. I did all these conferences where I invited architects, engineers, healthcare, alternative healthcare professionals to figure out the blueprint. But I was not focusing enough in the consciousness expanding and vibration that was needed. And more to the point, in terms of the Ascension Mechanic, they kept on saying to me, Pierre, what we want you to do right now is to make no assumption, because there's a lot of things, for example, in what I was teaching that I had thought my students understood over the past 10 years that I was teaching it. For example, every meditation, I keep saying all the time, let your head drop in the middle of your chest. And I'm assuming that everybody understood what I'm saying. I remember when I was about to teach the class, they said, no, they don't understand. You need to explain it like you were explaining it to someone who is in a coma. I was so shocked. This was like a light bulb moment for me. And more to the point is, for me, is the fact that what they were asking me to do, this mechanic, to teach it correctly will take 9 years. They wanted me to do it in 1 year. And this is exactly what I've been teaching. And March 7th, that just passed now, was the first year anniversary. And I have graduating students who are finishing the class, the third class, next week. And it's not that they are completely in ascendance, because I've given them all the tools, but the energy signature and what they need to do, they know it through and through. And they were right. I've taught them exactly everything that I'm doing. I left nothing behind. I told them exactly how to do it. I poured my heart out to them, and I said, this is the first step. This is the second step. This is how you do this. And through their question, and again, you have to understand that in a class like this, there's a lot of homework. There's a lot of practice that you need to do. And as you do the practice, you get insight, you get adjustment. And as they bring these things, because it's a group coaching experience, they come back with information, and I don't understand this. And in the process of doing this collectively, there is a vortex that's created between all the students. And that vortex becomes the doorway that allows them collectively to move. They become like ascension bodies. And they are collectively gathering each other and moving and creating a vortex. And then everyone gets shifted somewhere else. Because some of them were so-called beginners, to a lot of their surprises, they were like, I had a session with one of them last night from Japan. And she was like, I was so new to this, blah, blah, blah. But now I understand exactly what you were talking about. I now get it. I understand completely. Because now it's so the expansion of awareness occurred. It may have taken me a little bit longer than others that were more prepared, but it finally occurred. Now I get it. So it's the idea of teaching, and my guys were right. I was nervous about trying to contract everything and put them in this small little module of 12 weeks, thinking that people will not be able to get it, but they got it. And I'm happy to say we are closer to that 36 beings standing up in spiritual rectitude and verticality to allow us to broadcast to the world. Because what we need to do, each one of us, is to stand in a very specific frequency, or remembering the actual higher emotion, the charge that we hold in us. Let's say, for example, you have a part of you that resides in peace, another part of you that resides in gratitude, in mercy, and so on and so forth. You also exist in a very specific frequency. It's to remember what that frequency is and to let it rip, let it broadcast, let it entrain. And the moment we all do this, we will radiate through our generosity and our capability of sharing with the world what it feels like to truly be in ascendance, and what the higher density and what the new earth looks like. And let me give you a hint. It's a state of interdependence. It's a state where everything is interconnected to each other, and there is no fragmentation and no separation. If you can think of a giant flock of a starling that are moving together, each of them separate and individuals, but surrendered into a higher morphogenic awareness to allow every bird to move into this incredible dance and ballet. This is what the new earth feels like. This kind of like harmonious blending where we are allowing ourselves to be so surrendered into and trusting that this greater awareness has our back, that we're no longer in survival. I hope this answered your question. I kind of went off a little bit. I apologize for that.
Keep going. No apologies, because it's beautiful and it's a message needed. As what this who's it, Juju? What Juju commented. So with you go in your flow, comments like this happen because it resonates.
Yeah. It's interesting. Thank you for the comment, by the way, and thank you all of you for listening. And again, it's not a something that's again, it doesn't feel alien at all. It feels actually right. My student last night that I was speaking with, she kept saying, Pierre, I have a sense of purpose that I never had before. She says, I now know where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do. And they're all begging me, you should be teaching some other module, some other thing. And I'm like, no, I think right now you need a break, at least for the next 12 months. 12 weeks. You need a break for you to assimilate and process and put everything into practice. I said, Spirit may guide me into teaching you something else. But now that you've done the 3 series, you need to put all of it into practice so that you can now begin to and more importantly, you need to begin to trust that voice within yourself. You need to trust the relationship that you now have with all of the other fragments of yourself, and you have to stop listening to me.
Wow.
You understand? You have to stop listening to me. You have to trust what's within you, because the true breakthroughs are going to come in that inner conversation.
Wow. That's something that's definitely needed out there. And it's also a good indicator of a good teacher, of the teacher giving you the tools, but saying like, hey, it's in you, compared to you need to be with me. We were just talking about earlier, the marketing. Like, okay, here it is right now, but you still need me for level 3 or 4 or 5. And there's a lot of stuff out there, but the way that you do it is profound. And yeah, I resonate so much with that. It's like I'm my own teacher, but I can get information from other people as well. But the integration part is so valuable. And I love what you mentioned to your client when she was looking for more information, more tools and stuff. You're like, hold on. Process this real quick, because it's monumental. Like one modality and one practice, there's so much information that comes from it by just doing it and continuing with it, because it's a new experience every time you're doing it and you're expanding every time. And for me, because I tried to dip and dab in all these different modalities and stuff like that, I never was able to find that resonance and get that momentum going, and also just allow the space for me to integrate.
Yeah. The integration becomes the key, because as I said, everything, the 12 weeks is like 3 years in terms of the knowledge. And in order for you to truly allow the extraction of these modules of knowledge, you need to spend the time with yourself. And you have to allow the conversation to happen between, like when I give a breakthrough or a download, and I send the recording to everything, to the class, the video and the audio. I send the recordings out, and they're listening to my meditation. And then after they do it for 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, now stop listening to me. I want you to stop listening to the tape, and I need you now to because you now remember it. You've been listening to it every day for 2 weeks. Now you need to do it on your own, because my timing with the meditation is not your inner timing. Your body, the way you download and upload information is completely different from the timing I had when I was channeling it for the group. Your individual timing is different. You need to do it on your own. Don't listen to my voice anymore. Do it on your own. And this is the way you're going to derive the greatest benefit, because you might be faster or slower, whichever the case may be. Wherever you need to pause, to wait, I could be moving too fast for you or too slow. So there are multiple reasons why we should spend the time to integrate. The teacher is nothing more than a Sherpa and a guide. But walking the path is your responsibility.
Yeah. It's so much profound how more quicker you can get there with proper guidance and teacher. But then on the other end, it's like how potentially regressive you can get by not having the right teacher in your life. But even from that, you can be able to expand even deeper from it. But those false teacherhoods that are out there, following one of those paths, can also lead to like potential destruction and things like that.
Yeah. And you've said a mouthful there. You said, I don't know if you want to go in that direction, but you said a mouthful.
We got time. We can definitely go there.
Because I have witnessed quite a bit in my small amount of time I've been here on Earth. Somebody was asking me, how do you know somebody is a true Ascension teacher? Anybody can put a good show, even I. Okay? Anybody knows how to actually become, to use the seducer archetype for God, to lure people in with the passion and everything else. But where the rubber meets the road, it's when you observe a teacher and how they relate personally with their student and their family member. If they cannot be in ascendance and in peace and neutrality when a student is trying to challenge them, or when a family member is arguing with them, they are not in ascendance. This is the key. Okay? It's not what they do, but it's how they are emotionally in their inner relationships. I remember a friend of mine taking me to see this man who was very famous, and he's a mind reader, powerful mind reader. You know, the room is like 500 people, and people are like, oh my God, he's ascended. I'm thinking of this. He just answered it from the front. Oh my God, the man is this, the man is that, you know. And I'm looking at all of them, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this doesn't impress me. I'm from Haiti, okay? I'm sorry. I've seen people in my country that will tell you what color underwear that you're wearing and if it has a hole in it, okay? They will tell you such detail. You swear that they've been following you for the past 3 months, okay? And yet they were highly dark and malevolent. So to demonstrate power doesn't mean that you're ascended. They're two separate things. And so the fact that you have ability and you can do X, Y, Z, the ascendants come when you're interacting with your student. And if you're being abusive, judgmental, and if you're thinking that you're always right, or for that matter, you're creating, like you were saying before, Del, dependencies. You're not trying to really empower your student and give them a path where they themselves can be at shoulder to shoulder with you. But you want them, you're always holding something back. I had another student from another class who just this week, just past this Monday, said to me, Pierre, the thing that I loved about you is that I've had a lot of teachers in my life. I realize that you're sharing everything and you're telling me so much truth. Question that I've asked other teachers that I knew they had the answers, but they refused to answer it because they thought if they told me, they would have, for whatever that secret, they had to keep it to themselves. If I know it, I'm going to share it. And I'll tell you why. Because if I share it and I give it all to you, the universe will give you more. I just read about it. Hold it back. If I hide it and hold it back in my chest, I am full. I can't allow flow to happen.
I just read about that too in a book that I'm reading in regards to getting like the universal knowledge and sharing it, and not hoarding it, but sharing it, because the people in your vicinity that you actually can share it with, and they help you, you actually help them to ascend to the level where you're at, you're going to get to go to even another level. Like you said, it's like opened up abundance in the universe. Oh, this person is sharing, helping people come up here. Here's some more.
That's right.
Here's some more.
Think the analogy is the pipe. If the pipe is blocked, water cannot flow through it. But if you unblock it and it's constantly flowing and the knowledge is passing through you, more water will flow. So when I'm teaching, when I'm giving information, I'm not holding anything back, because the more I give you, the more, again, this is the trust on this morphogenic field I was talking about, the flock of Starling. You have to trust that abundance and flow is endless and perpetual and infinite. And knowledge and knowing and wisdom is infinite. And whatever you share by openly giving it to anyone else around you, the universe is going to funnel through you much more. And if you all exist in a space like this, then you will ascend. There is no question about it. Everything will begin to elevate. And this is what I've witnessed. Certain teachers, it's not that they are not, okay, they are partly ascended. They have achieved, a lot of them who can demonstrate power have achieved what I call the first level of ascension, which is the power increase. And they can demonstrate, and they can do things in public that are quite extraordinary. And humanity is very gullible, and people run after them like they were the Pied Piper. And it's wonderful. It's their karma. Okay, I don't want to have devotees, and this is the thing that I'm saying all the time. I don't want devotees. This is why I'm going to empower you, and you're going to do this. I want equals, so that we can collectively show to the world. Because, as I said, the shift in awareness that needs to happen for the path of the new earth to be demonstrated is quite a leap from survival. Most people on the planet will not be able to do it. And to those of us who are light workers, who feel that we came here to help humanity find that path, those are the students that I want. Because if we all gather together and we demonstrate it, it's 144,000, according to all of the holy books and all shamanistic cultures, that is needed to demonstrate that path. And if I can train them and demonstrate to them, here is the path, here's how you do it, and we all stand shoulder to shoulders, we will begin to broadcast collectively to the world that there is a different choice. You don't have to stay in survival. You can trust this morphogenic field. You can trust that higher awareness and say to yourself, I am surrendering myself into it, and since I exist in it now, I'm going to entrain you. And there are times where the universe and spirit have sent me to places that, when you're that surrendered, like go to the park and sit on this bench. And then I go and I sit on the bench, and somebody's sitting there and I'm sitting next to them. All I needed to do without talking to them was to sit next to them, to allow the frequency that I'm holding to change them. I have a spot that I keep going to every time I'm walking on the Hudson River Park, and I keep sitting there. I had people, I'll tell you a funny story. So I came and I sat down, and social distancing, the bench next to me, no one is sitting, and the other bench, there's a woman that's there that's reading. I came and sat down, and I began to do just my breath control, my practice, and my radiation. My eyes are closed. I heard somebody else seated on the left side. I didn't open my eyes. I was in meditation. When I woke up, snapped out, and I knew I was done. I was supposed to get up and walk away. Both of them were asleep. This woman that was holding the book is, head is tilted to the side and falling asleep. The other one laid herself completely out on the bench, laid out completely. And then I opened my eyes and I began to make movement to kind of leave. She woke up and she stretched out her arm, and she looked at me and she smiled, like this complicit smile. And then she looked at me, she bowed to me, and she said, "Thank you." And I walked away. This is a broadcast. I didn't have to say a thing. It's the frequency and the vibration that you're holding. It's the entrainment of everybody around. I have been on park areas where runners who are running past by me stand in front of me and bow and namaste to me before they proceed. This is when I'm in the true broadcast. It's not always this way. I don't want you to think that I'm stopping traffic.
Today's news are pure traffic.
It's not what's happening. I have to go into a state of deep meditation. And I am always guided where to sit. Spirit always guides me to a different spot. I walk and I'm walking, all of a sudden I'm supposed to sit here and do my practice here. And I go through the practice, and the next thing I know, people around me. I had a time, it was a little boy. I opened my eyes, and it was in a little scooter, and he turned, "Hi, hi, hi." And literally his fathers keep walking away, and it was very awkward and weird for me, because I'm like, this father's going to think I'm going to try to kidnap his son, because the father keeps walking away and he refused to move. He's waving at me, and I started waving at him back, smiling. He saw something. He was so captivated. And this is a demonstration of true entrainment. And this is what I'm trying to lead the understanding of this topic today, is that when enough of us will have done this, we will broadcast something that the world osmosis, humanity osmosis, will understand that they have a different choice. That frequency is not present right now in the current climate of polarization that we're in. It doesn't show up. And it takes people like us who are brave enough and courageous enough to say, I'm going to show it in me. And when I show it in me, and enough of us can do this, we will demonstrate it collectively.
Right there. What he just said at the end of demonstrating is like, yeah, we always can see the possibilities of what other people can do, but it's more powerful when we do it for ourselves first and show it. Because like you mentioned earlier in this interview, a lot of people are the people, they have to see it to believe it type of thing. And right now, what they're seeing is this whole pandemic and all these other things going on. So they're believing that. And there's people out there who are saying like, oh yeah, we can get to this other reality and all this other stuff. But like people who are actually embodying it and showing it, like yourself, it's monumental. And the more of us that continue to do it, I'm excited, because more of us are starting to do that, because you can see a lot of the light worker community is doing the work now of going in with their stuff and confronting the shadows and upgrading it. It's like we're forcefully going there. I asked myself the question I think it was like last week or something. I'm like, dang, like I didn't know it was gonna be this intense, but I want to go back. Because I was thinking like what I was doing before even like started to do the inner work, and even like what would potentially happen if I was on that path of not doing this type of work. So I'm grateful for it, and just to hear the conversation, and also from the people who are doing the work, like we're doing it, and we're gonna show some like pretty cool stuff and the possibilities of it.
Yeah, because if you're not, what's happening right now with the world, as you said, because of the crisis and the polarization, if you haven't done the shadow work, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be caught on a glue trap, and you're going to be forced to deal with it. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. Because
there's so many polarizing and so-called catastrophic thing that seems to be happening. It's going to trigger something inside of you that's unresolved, and you have to go back and resolve it. And even for me, there are things I thought I I licked. I thought I got this. I've done this already. All of a sudden, I find myself in a situation. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why am I still here? Well, you didn't do it. You had. The thing with these things is that they're so old and ancient. They have. If you have a call, for example, let's say survival. Think of survival as a way to see the world, as a giant ravine. But that ravine is connected to all of these tributary behavior, emotions, and reactions. Let's say one of them would be fight, defend, attack, be victimized, hoard. All of them are tributary flow that goes into the ravine. So when you think you licked the survival, but you didn't deal with the victimization, you didn't deal with the fight or flight, you didn't deal with all of these other tributary, they will show up. The ravine is still being fed. So you not only have to deal with the main issue, and one of the thing one of the key thing that I'm doing, and my guides are helping me, is that when these things show up for me, I ask for the root cause. And when I ask for extraction and for processing and for release, I'm asking for the root cause to be released in all program, subprogram, and related program. These are key. One should write this down, and when you're repeating this to your higher self, you need to say this. Because if you don't say it, they will not remove it. Because you have to understand something. The higher forces respect you so much because you're God incarnate. You may be disempowered, but you're still God incarnate. And therefore, verbatim, they will do exactly no more, no less than what you ask them. So you're extracting the program, subprogram, related program. It has to be all together. You don't do this, you're going to go back again and you're going to wonder, I thought I did this. Well, you took out one tributary, but you didn't do the whole thing. The system is still there.
Yeah. It's like pulling the weeds out. You gotta
get
the roots, because if you just, I'm just gonna cut the weeds, like the top part, and leave the roots there, it's gonna sprout right back up.
Yep.
I'm happy to read some comments, Pierre. You've been getting a lot of love here in the chat. Yuvelka says, I am here to receive this fire conversation vortex. Yes. Expansion of awareness. Yes. Pierre makes me freeze in place to listen to his message. This is for me. Wow, Pierre. Wow.
Thank you.
Yuvelka also says, teach me more, Pierre. I need more of this to strengthen the voice within myself. I hear it, but do not fully actively listen, not all the time. And a few minutes of you now feels like 3 months. I believe you when you say 12 weeks feels like 12 months. Wow. And lastly, she says, Pierre is sharing the truth. What you give freely, you receive freely from the universe. Yes, people do not share because of fear of someone taking. But we have no fear here because the belief of the universal divine abundance. Thank you, Pierre. And she says, here I go again. Pierre brings me to tears of love and joy. This conversation is so necessary. Thank you, thank you. I am brave enough. Thank you.
Oh, blessings. Thank you, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you all for your comments. Yes, thank you.
And I'm just going to put your website one more time,
Thank
just in case anyone is interested in reaching out to you and finding you, because, wow, my mind is blown.
And I have a class coming up. As I said, April 7th, I will be teaching the first step of this 3-part series on Ascension. And starting on April 7th, that will be the first part, and it will be followed by a 2-week break, and then another 12 weeks, 2-week break, another 12 weeks. Total is about a year and a few weeks, and then by that point, you should have a complete understanding of what Ascension is. Not only understanding intellectually, but to viscerally be in the space of understanding vibrationally what it feels like. This is the key, because, we have this old proverb in the Caribbean that says you have to know there to go there. If I can talk about it in words, But how do you describe in words something that's in a higher frequency? It's like trying, if the world was only in 2D, only having length and width, how do you explain depth to somebody who's in 2D? So if you're in a higher dimension and density, it's very hard to figure out a way to say it. But what the higher parts of yourself can do, and this is what I was talking about, them teaching you the emotion that they know, they can vibrate you into the awareness that they know. And the moment that happens, higher consciousness occurs. And that's the last part of the mechanic, to vibrationally go into the space where these higher emotions are. And the moment you're in that space, you have a visceral understanding of what it is, that even after you get it, in 3D, there is no vocabulary to describe it, because it doesn't exist in the density, but that you understand it vibrationally in you, because it becomes too convoluted to try to explain it. This is why so many of the teachers and mystics speak in allegories. When they get into ascendant state, they said, it is like, and then they describe something else. They're using analogies because there is no words or no way of describing something that's transcendental and my expanding and consciousness expanding into words that the average person on the planet can understand. So it does, we sound a lot of time when we're doing this kind of work that we are, that's why the Zen Buddhist speaks in allegories. You try to explain a transcendental state to someone else that doesn't understand. And if you're good at it, you might be able to describe and give people a hint, a clue that will eventually lead them into that visceral heart expansion that they need for them to really know what that vibration is. So it is my hope that I can find the 36 that is needed so that I can demonstrate this to the world. It would be my honor. Again, as I said, I'm giving by nature. It's almost like an instinct for me, and I'm always trying to share what I know in whatever fashion that I can do it. But it requires a certain commitment and time. It requires you to spend the time to do the practice, so that, because again, you have to demonstrate it to yourself. It's not just the words, you have to demonstrate it to yourself. You have to be shifted in awareness to move to the next piece, the next piece, and the next piece. And because of the support of the group that we usually have, it creates the right kind of intimacy and the right kind of community to allow a safe place for the transformation and the change to occur.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow. Always appreciate your presence and for sharing everything that you come across and that you are.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to having you back again. And Pierre's information is here at the bottom. Please, please, please feel free to be in touch. If you feel called, if you're one of the 36. Pierre, do you have any last parting words before we go?
Be careful. Do not let yourself be worried about the illusions that's out there. I would say simply, I would quote simply the Dalai Lama by just saying, what you need to remember that where we're going, you have to be in a state of such surrender that you trust the universe, that it is the absence of existence and self-identity. And if you can shift yourself to that awareness, you're going to be okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for listening to me as well. I bless you. Thank you so much.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Stay magical.